The 6-hour chew. Imagine you're sitting down for dinner, but there's no stove, no microwave, and no sushi chef. Just a pile of raw, fibrous tubers and a slab of tough, cold meat. To get enough calories to simply survive the day, you can't just eat and go. You have to chew. If you were a chimpanzee, you would spend roughly 6 hours every single day just moving your jaws. That is a full-time job of mastication. But as a modern human, you probably spend less than an hour a day eating. So what happened? How did we escape the chewing trap? We didn't just get lucky. We invented a way to outsource our digestion to the flames. We started cooking. And while we think of cooking as a culinary choice, it was actually the single most important biological hack in human history. It's the reason you have the brain you're using to watch this video. The energy crisis. You are an ancient human on the African savanna. Your body is a high-maintenance machine, and your biggest fuel hog is sitting right between your ears. Your brain represents only about 2% of your body weight, but it guzzles 20% of your daily energy. For most animals, raw food is an energy nightmare. Raw starch is hard to break down, and raw protein is tightly coiled and difficult for your stomach enzymes to attack. In the wild, you are constantly in an energy deficit. But then, everything changes. You discover fire. Suddenly, you realize that if you throw that tough root or that piece of meat into the embers, something magical happens. The heat breaks down the tough fibers and denatures the proteins. You have just invented external digestion. Shrinking guts, growing brains. Now, let's get into the weird historical detail. Because you are now pre-digesting your food with fire, your body makes a radical executive decision. It shrinks your gut. Digestion is expensive tissue. Large, complex digestive tracts require a massive amount of metabolic energy to maintain. But once you start eating cooked food, you don't need that massive internal fermenting vat anymore. This is the expensive tissue hypothesis. As your gut gets smaller and more efficient, your body reallocates all that saved energy directly to your brain. We are the only species on Earth with a brain this big and a gut this small, and we have the campfire to thank for it. We traded our stomachs for our minds. The softness of survival. Here is where it gets even weirder. Cooking didn't just change our insides, it changed our faces. Because we weren't spending 6 hours a day grinding raw plants, our massive jaw muscles began to shrink. Our teeth got smaller. Our faces flattened out. We literally evolved smaller mouths because we didn't need the heavy-duty machinery anymore. This also meant we could eat a much wider variety of things. Foods that were once toxic or indigestible, like certain beans or starchy potatoes, became safe and delicious after a quick boil or roast. You aren't just eating better, you're eating everything. This dietary flexibility is exactly how ancient humans were able to travel the world and survive in every environment from the tropics to the frozen tundra. The first laboratory. But cooking wasn't just a biological upgrade, it was a social revolution. Just as we've seen in our look at prehistoric nightlife, the fire became the hub. In the raw world, you eat on the go. You find a berry, you eat it. You find a root, you chew it. But you can't carry a fire with you everywhere while you hunt. Fire forces you to stay in one place. It forces you to wait. This waiting time while the food cooks is where human culture was born. You sit together. You talk. You share. You develop the social bonds and the IKEA effect of valuing the food you work together to prepare. Cooking turned the act of refueling into a communal event. It turned a group of primates into a society. The flavor of humanity. The next time you're waiting for your pasta to boil or your steak to sear, remember that you are participating in a 2-million-year-old biological miracle. We didn't just start cooking because it tasted better. We started cooking because we had to. We cooked to fuel our curiosity, to shrink our struggles, and to grow the very brains that eventually built skyscrapers and space stations. We are the cooking ape. We are the only animal that can't survive without a kitchen. And that, more than our tools, our clothes, or our stories, is the real reason you are history.